Hey everyone, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Brittany Skyler, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, we speak with the psychiatry resident at Montefiore Health System about the importance of Mental Health Awareness Month. Then, the creator and producer of Top Level Reality speaks about the upcoming mixer on July 27th in New York, where guests can be a part of a new project. After that, the interim CEO of Girl Scouts of Greater New York sits down with a Bronx Girl Scout participant who has been the top seller in the Bronx for the last 2 years. And finally, the director of Respect and Responsibility for Rising Ground speaks about their program and their upcoming events for Father's Day. So stay tuned, all this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hey everyone, I'm Brittany Skyler, and today is Tuesday, June 10th. You're now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. Dr. Kenneth Serrano grew up in the Bronx with deep connections to the community. He remembers the obstacles his grandmother faced trying to navigate the healthcare system after she arrived from Puerto Rico. This was part of his drive to become a doctor. As part of Mental Health Awareness Month, he and his colleagues are giving talks in the community centers across the Bronx. Dr. Kenneth, thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. So to start things off, tell us about your upbringing in the Bronx. Everybody has a different story. So tell us, what was it like growing up for you in the Bronx?
Mhm. My family has been in the Bronx now for generations. On one side, my great grandparents came here, and on the other side, my grandparents came here. Um, they've lived in the Bronx, been raised in the Bronx. Same thing for my parents. I was born in Morris Park and went to elementary school in Pelham Bay, where my grandma lived. And I have a lot of fond memories growing up in the Bronx. I spent a lot of time at Pelham Bay Park, Whitestone Cinemas when it was around, Yankees games, Arthur Ave, Louis and Ernie's, you name it. I would just say, like, on the other hand, it's pretty clear, even as a child, that the community is underserved in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. You did mention all the Bronx spots that we love, but like you did mention, the community is underserved. So when your grandmother came here from Puerto Rico, she did struggle navigating the healthcare system, which in turn shaped your drive to become a doctor. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Um, yeah, I remember hearing from my grandma conversations with other family members, and I vividly remember her talking about how she would go to see a doctor, which in itself it was difficult finding a doctor. But when she was able to find one, she didn't have the best experiences. She would often come more confused after the doctor's appointment because she got a lot of information that wasn't really, really explained to her. So, and when these things sound more like lectures, it makes people generally less interested in their health. It's really important to be have it be a give and take so people can learn more about their health and you can earn their trust.
100%. I hear a lot of times that people do kind of stay away from the doctor because, like you said, it becomes a lecture and it almost becomes like this scolding in a sense. So it's like,
Hmm.
why am I going to go back? But throughout your medical career, you did end up choosing psychiatry. Can you tell us a little bit about why?
Sure. um, I would say when I was younger, I didn't have a ton of experience with the mental health care system. There were some family members, and of course other people in the community, so I had a pretty limited understanding of what exactly the field entailed.
Hmm.
When I went to med school, I actually planned on doing either pediatrics or radiology, because those are the best experiences I had with doctors, like during college at least. Um, and then COVID happened, and when COVID happened, I spent a lot of time really everything medical related, and I found myself really drawn to a lot of things about psychiatry specifically. I always tell people that I consider it a very wide and a very deep field. Wide in the sense that it has overlap with really everything: sociology, law, ethics, you name it. But it's also very deep. There's a lot of ways that you can grow. There's so much to learn, and and at its core, it's a privilege to be able to speak with people about their lives and earn their trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, with that, you're now training at Montefiore. What is
Mhm.
it like to be back in your home borough studying medicine and serving the community?
It's really meaningful, and it makes the work even more meaningful than it already is, and it really is a big motivator. When I was a kid, Montefiore was the healthcare system in the Bronx. Um, and as a kid, to me it was the medical school, the hospital, and like it's where I wanted to be. And like how lucky can one be, achieving their dreams essentially. So I'm very happy to be here, and I love the job. It is a difficult job, I will say, and it can be really draining at times, but just being able to do the job day to day, talk about people with their lives, and hopefully get to help them in some way is really, like, I cannot take it for granted.
That's amazing. I think there's something so special about serving the community that once served you. And so,
Mhm.
in that, you did mention that the Bronx is an underserved community, which we've seen time and time again. So, can you tell me what are some of the unique mental health challenges that patients here in the Bronx face?
Mhm. Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind, I would say, at least from my experience of seeing patients in various different settings at this point, it's pretty clear that there's a significant trauma history with a lot of patients in the community. Um, be it from their family or just like the barriers of society, essentially. One of those barriers being access to mental health care at all. Um, y- there isn't access to some more like specialized sort of programs and what have you that might be in other wealthier areas. So we're kind of, doing what we can with what we have. Um, there's a lot of immigrant communities which we try and serve best we can, but there is a language barrier. And even when using interpreters, some things might be lost in communication. Um, so, I think we have a very strong and resilient community, but there are a lot of challenges that we need to face every day.
Absolutely. Now, tell me, is there anything that you pull from your personal experience to then, be able to serve your patients and serve the people of the Bronx?
Mhm. I would say for me, when I was a kid, I remember seeing my pediatrician and feeling very comfortable with them and feeling like they want to listen to me. And that's something that is really important to me when I'm seeing patients. A lot of the time it's their first introduction to healthcare or mental health care or the emergency room. So it's really important to set a good first impression so they can feel comfortable. Because a lot of the questions we end up asking people, they're pretty tough questions. And you need to be able to make them feel comfortable and safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of just touched on that is providing this welcoming care. So in a mental health setting, again, can you elaborate on what does that mean to you specifically?
Mhm. I would say to me, the the first thing I think of is sort of the give and take that I was talking about, right?
Hmm.
Because the patient, you're learning so much about them, you're asking all these questions, and you don't want to make it seem as though their input isn't appreciated, because really the relationship is more of a collaboration than anything. Every patient has their own unique story, and a good psychiatrist, not only needs to listen, but needs to get the patient's input and see what works for them. And I think that's the way forward to really help people.
Yeah, of course. And for Mental Health Awareness Month, you and your colleagues are giving talks to the community. Can you tell us a little bit about what that entails?
Sure. Yeah, it's been a really good experience. A lot of residents in the program end up doing it, going to different places to do so. For me in particular, I've only done them at senior centers. The presentations end up being basically initially about a topic, but it tends to
Mhm.
become more of a Q&A. A lot of people are unfamiliar with the healthcare system, the mental health care system, the options available to them, and just even descriptions of the things that they're dealing with. Um, so sometimes you kind of get some questions out of left field, but those those are helping you connect this person to care and help them live a better life. Even senior centers, like there's a big need there as well. So it's been a really good experience.
That's amazing to hear, and of course, another really, really great way to give back. So, at the end of these talks, what do you hope that residents take away from hearing you?
Mhm. I hope that residents take away the fact that we need to learn from our patients and meet them where they're at. Um, it's very easy to tell somebody this is what you need to do, this is where you need to go, but there's more to it than that. And I think that those are the sorts of things that we should focus on. Of course, as a psychiatrist, we can use medications, we can use therapy and whatnot. But the things that tend to work are the things that the patient, wants and will do.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that I do want to touch on is somebody, I'm Puerto Rican myself, and a lot of times in these Latino communities, I'd say seeing a psychiatrist or, getting help in a way, it's almost frowned upon, right? It's something that's not talked about, something that mental health really isn't discussed in these communities, or at least when I was growing up. So, do you oftentimes find people who might be closed off because of this?
Definitely.
Hmm.
Which leads to kind of what I was saying about the first impression. Um, you need to be able to make someone feel comfortable and safe in order
Hmm.
to ask these questions. But a lot of the time, we don't always get, exactly what's on their mind, and
Hmm.
and that's okay. People need to be able to open up at their own pace. I would say similarly, I have experience having a lot of patients from a similar background whose family didn't really want to discuss the issue or maybe even kind of ignored the issue. So we need to give them some sort of space to be able to talk about those things. I think if we're able to reach people one at a time, this stigma that we're facing will slowly fade.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And just as we wrap up, can you tell us what is your vision for the future of mental health here in the Bronx?
Mhm. I think my vision for the future of mental health care in the Bronx is expanding access to the community. Um, you know, I feel like the people of the Bronx deserve more resources and deserve the programs that, like, you shouldn't be limited in what you have access to based on like the zip code that you're born in, right? So my goal is to be able to have some of these things that the community needs. I think Montefiore is doing well in this regard. We're opening up a new child unit, a new emergency room, so slowly, we're helping with that lack of access. But I think in the future, the goal is to really kind of erase that barrier. And I would also the asterisk I would put there as well is earlier I was talking about the trauma history of a lot of our patients. I think it's important for our system, our mental health care system, to really address those things. It can be hard to find people that specialize in that, so I would like that to be expanded.
Absolutely. Dr. Serrano, thank you so much again for sitting down with us this morning.
Thanks so much.
For our viewers at home who may need help or know someone who needs this kind of support, please visit the website on the screen below. Don't go away, we'll be back with more Open after this.
gonna start the show right now. This is my favorite part. Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, this is Angel, and I am one of the instructors for the in-studio production. Here at BronxNet, we offer classes that can help you elevate, expand, and start your television career. All you have to do is sign up at bronxnet.org/education. For the past 7 years, I have been in various productions, spanning from talk shows, independent films, news reports, art displays, teachings, musical performances, and many more. Ain't that right, Angel? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Angel. There are a lot of creative individuals that we're just waiting to sign up for the class. And if I may, can I also express thank you, Angel. That's all the time we have left. Visit bronxnet.org/education and become a producer by taking the course. The class I offer is also in English, en español y también bilingüe. Nos vemos en la próxima clase.
Welcome back. Grind Behind the Glam takes viewers behind the scenes of the high pressure and passion of the fashion industry, revealing the real hustle and heartbreak it takes to survive and thrive in the secretive world of fashion. We are now joined by the producer and creator of Top Level Reality, Therese Marie. Therese, thank you so
Hi.
much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Thank you.
I'm so excited to speak with you. I love fashion and all the things and all the fashion shows. So, to kick things off, grind and glam is such a bold topic. Can you tell us what was the very first spark that inspired this show?
I really wanted to show a picture of what it looks like in the industry. It's beautiful. The dresses are beautiful, but there's a lot of hard work behind it. So I wanted to reflect that in this show. So I'm really excited.
Absolutely. And so, you made a name for yourself as a fashion designer. So, why
Mhm.
step now into the world of reality TV?
I wanted to show again like what's behind
Hmm.
being in the fashion industry. I've been to Paris, I've been to Milan, I've been all over the world doing fashion. I come back and people are like, "Oh my God, did you have so much fun?" I'm like, "Well, I was really working. I was working from the time for up to a year. It could be up to a year to 6 months, just preparing for that moment. And I wanted to actually show the real grind in the show. So that's kind of where it all started from.
Of course. I mean, I've done New York Fashion Week 3 years now as a reporter, and it's always the same thing afterwards. I always get, how much fun did you have? It looks so cool on social media. And yes, it did look cool on social media because social media is like my highlight reel in a sense. But after Fashion Week, I'm like, I need a nap. I need to sleep for like the next 2 weeks. It's just so go, go, go. I mean, you're
Yeah.
getting glam yourself, you're dressing up, you're in the city, and like you mentioned, you're in Paris and you're in Milan. And it's
Mhm.
just so much that yes, it's beautiful. The end product is beautiful, but at the end, you're like, I need to sleep for a really, really long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, tell me, how does this show reflect your personal journey in the industry?
The industry is not easy. The industry is definitely a grind. It really takes a lot of passion and dedication and resilience. You
Hmm.
can't, you're going to get a lot of no's. So you just have to be mentally ready. I'm going to get 1,000 no's. And then I need that one yes. And then I need another yes. And you just keep going. So, that's where it all comes from. And we're reflecting that on the show. This is my journey and the journey of many others that I've worked with and behind the stage, which is the production team, the MUAs, the stylists. So we're bringing those stories to this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned, you're going to get that 100 no's before you get that one yes. But even when you do get that
Mhm.
one yes, if Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn taught us anything, it's that
Mhm.
in fashion, one day you're in and the next day you're out. So, can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about what are some things that people don't necessarily understand about the fashion industry?
That there is a lot of work. There's a
Hmm.
lot of preparation. So you kind of always need to be preparing and getting ready for what is next because there's the trends, they go up and down. If Cardi B wears something and if she just can style it, whoever her stylist is, now this is now a trend. So if you want to kind of keep up with whatever is trending, you kind of want to stay on top of your skill. There's always new things to learn. So you need to stay on top of that so you can stay competitive and keep your brand out there and keep going. So it really takes a lot of that. So you got to pull in from that passion and that drive and make it all work. So those are things that are just necessary.
Absolutely. And as the show title and as the subtitle says, it is such a grind. Like you mentioned, the moment something
Yes.
is trending, you have to hop on that trend if you
Yeah.
want to, remain relevant in a sense. We just saw that
Yeah.
with the Met Gala. Now we're going to see a bunch of really gorgeous tailoring, but now, of course, that's something that everybody's going to hop on because we just saw some of the biggest
Hmm.
A-listers walking the carpet in that. And so on this show, you showcase the hustle, the heartbreak, and the truth. Let's just
Hmm.
dive into why was it so important to showcase this.
I want to show the truth. As a new designer, when I first started and I was going to New York Fashion Week, there was one particular show that I really wanted to get in. And it was, I think it was maybe going to my second time going to New York.
Mhm.
And they kept telling me no. And to me, I'm like, okay, that means I just need to sharpen my skills. It's not a no. I'm not the worst. I need to just continue to sharpen. And by the third time I applied, I came out, I thanked them, and I had an amazing collection and sold out. So just pulling from within to be the best that you can be, and that's kind of what I want to reflect in the show, reflect in being I don't know, having that passion for what you're doing. It really translates from just doing hair, from doing makeup, setting up a production like we do with the show, that the heart actually translates easily, at least on screen, in the people that you're working with and the people that actually see your brand.
Absolutely. And so tell us, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when it came to producing and creating the show?
Oh goodness. Well, I've done, like, as a fashion, I've done fashion design and I love that, but I've also done production, just producing events. So I did a few different events, and I did one with SWV, which was very exciting. But now we're changing that to adding television cameras. So that is something that was outside of what I've done. But we collaborated with an amazing production team. They're helping me along the way, me and my team. But it's very challenging. You're learning the different scenes. You have to be really time conscious because every moment is recorded, and you don't want to go over that time because you're paying more. You don't want to do that. So that's kind of one of the bigger things, like different hats. I'm wearing different hats in this, learning to market the show. um, we have two amazing hosts that are a part of the show who have both been on television, so that's working really well for us. So we have Bianca Golden from America's Next Top Model, and we have Andre Hammond, who's a celebrity stylist and worked at Hallmark and Bravo. So he's going to be on as well as the faces of our show. So we're really excited with them to be on.
I love that you mentioned Bravo because I am a huge reality TV fan. Any reality show, I'm pretty sure I've seen at least one episode of it. But
Yes.
in that, we also know that reality TV isn't always real. So tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about the format of the show and how you ensure that it remains authentic and real.
Okay, so the show will be a reality because it
Hmm.
is reality, but it is more of a documentary. You're
Okay.
going to learn. It's not just like you're watching designers, you're watching models, but you're actually going to get an education. We're going to be sharing some tips, spilling some tea, behind the scenes of what happens in the industry. We're going to also have some industry experts on in the show, and we're all working together to bring the real grind of the industry, what it really takes.
That's amazing because when you're somebody who watches a bunch of reality shows, you can easily see, okay, they dubbed this over. That was a Franken bite. This is this
Yeah.
is that. And it almost takes away from the allure of the
Mhm.
show in a sense. But
Yeah.
with that, on July 27th, you're filming in New York with
Yes.
this huge opportunity. It is a mixer, not just for, current professionals or fashion lovers, but people also trying to break into the industry. So
Mhm.
what can people expect if they attend and how can they get in on this?
Yes, this is going to be so exciting. Okay, so we are going to have an industry mixer, so a fashion industry mixer, which will be filmed and which will be in the show. We'll also have a mini fashion show, so highlighting a few amazing designers at this event. But you'll have the opportunity to network with another amazing top designer, editors who are in the fashion industry. You'll meet some producers, some top models. You'll really be able to network and meet some other people. Also, you have an opportunity of being highlighted in the show. So we're all going to be there having a good time and also filming the show. So it's going to be really exciting.
That's awesome. So that means if you want to go, you have to show up in your most glam self so
Yes,
that way you can get on camera. I love that.
yes.
Now tell me, the show with the show, are there any plans for this upcoming New York Fashion Week, which we see in September?
No, so we
Hmm.
won't be at New York Fashion Week, but we will have some scenes leading up to New York Fashion Week. I love New York Fashion Week, so we won't be there for that, but we have some I don't know behind the scenes of New York Fashion Week.
I love that. I cannot wait. And so tell me, what has been the most emotional or, the most proud moment for you in bringing this project to life?
Oh my gosh. This was literally just a conversation
Mhm.
of me wanting to share the story because I've been very blessed. I've been all over the world with the fashion, my fashion brand. I've been on red carpets. I've had my brand at the Oscars, BET, and I have younger creatives and people who want to get into industry are in my inbox asking me questions. How did you do this and what happened with that and what did you do this, or I made a dress and I have a question about that, and I'm like, I can't talk to all of you guys, so how about we just wrap this up and present it to you for the show. And so that's kind of where the idea came from, along with my sisters who are also worked in production with me with our previous shows. And that's really where it came from. It came from the heart of me wanting to not see another designer struggle. I want to be able to tell you those tips. I want to give you some insight, not just me, but some other amazing industry experts who've been in this industry, who have thrived. We're going to have those people on, and you're really going to get a learning lesson from the show.
That's amazing, Therese. We have about a good 30 seconds left. So if you can sum up Grind and Glam in one word, what would it be?
Resilient. You have to be resilient. You can't let maybe if you're MUA, if you didn't do blend the makeup correctly, you don't want that to end your career. You don't want to give up. You want to keep bouncing back because there's going to be a lot of no's. Everyone is not going
Absolutely.
to like how you do hair. Everyone's not going to love your dress, but you have to be resilient. Keep going, pull that passion from what is inside of you, pull that passion from what's inside of you, and thrive and become resilient. Grinding glam, that's what we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, to learn more about the upcoming event on July 27th and to watch the show itself, please visit the website on the screen below. Stay tuned. We have more open for you right after this.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Welcome back. Just a few weeks after the end of Girl Scout cookie season, the Girl Scouts of Greater New York have announced this year's top cookie sellers, and for the Bronx, the title goes to once again Kalila a 12-year-old powerhouse who topped the borough last year as well. Here to tell us more about her journey as the two-time best cookie seller is Kalila, and joining her is the interim CEO of Girl Scouts of Greater New York, Karen Lundgard. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Of course. I mean, when my producer brought this idea to me, I'm like, we have to have him on the show. I was a Girl Scout myself from first grade to sixth grade, and cookie season was just such a fun time of year for me. So I'm so excited to kind of go back and talk about this again. So to start things off, Karen, can you tell us a little bit about your experience as a lifelong Girl Scout?
Yeah, so as you said, I'm a lifelong Girl Scout. I started as a Daisy, which is 5 years old. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. My mom was my troop leader, and I truly can attribute so many formative moments of my childhood to Girl Scouting. It's such a special and unique program that's given me so much.
And so tell me, how did you make the journey now into interim CEO?
Yeah, so I've had a long career in youth development, and then within overseeing nonprofits and leading nonprofits, and I was most recently the chief operating officer for the Girl Scouts of Greater New York as well.
Nice. And
Yeah.
Kalila, tell us, how long have you been a Girl Scout?
I've been a Girl Scout for 7 years.
Did you start as a Daisy and then work your way up?
Yes.
Nice. So tell me, what has been some of your favorite parts about being a Girl Scout?
Some of my favorite parts about being a Girl Scout is like making friends with other Girl Scouts, going to the Girl Scout camp, and all the fun activities that we get to do.
That's amazing. And now, Karen, can you give us an overview of the Girl Scout cookie program? Let's talk about its significance.
Yeah, the Girl Scout Cookie Program is the largest girl-led business in the entire world. Our Girl Scouts work together as a troop to plan and think about what they want to achieve that year, so they'll come up with goals. It might be a trip to camp, it might be earning a specific badge, but they're thinking about what do they need, how much do they need to actually achieve those goals, so they'll sit down together, create that plan, and then go out and achieve those goals.
That's amazing. And so now I have to know what exactly, because I know when I was a Girl Scout, there was, you can earn badges and things like that. So what necessarily are some things that they can work towards now? I know you mentioned the trip to camp and all of that. So what does that look like now?
Whatever, the sky's the limit. Honestly, these Girl Scouts are thinking about, and sometimes it's fun things, right? Like going on a trip, they might be going to Six Flags or something, or they're going up to camp. It might be that they want to earn a specific badge, but it also might be that they want to make change in their communities. And that leads up to our highest awards, our bronze, silver, and gold award. And so they might be saving up for something like that. Maybe it's something to do in the community. I was just at a garden this weekend with a troop that they had planned in Canarsie. So the sky's really the limit with what they want to achieve.
That's so great, and I'd love to hear from both of you, from both of your perspectives. What do you learn the most when you're going through this cookie season?
Yeah, so the 5 top skills that Girl Scouts learn during cookie season are decision making, goal setting, business ethics, people skills, and so much more. We see a huge boost in confidence. I know even as an adult, we are terrified of hearing no, right? So imagine the confidence that it takes for a 5-year-old Daisy Girl Scout to ask an adult to buy a box of cookies. That takes a lot of courage, and it's incredible to see the growth that we see in our Girl Scouts from being out there. They're out there one day and they're not afraid anymore, right? They're like, I can sell all day, right?
Yeah. What about you?
So like the things that I learn is like money management, like help with like if I want to start like a business on my own, entrepreneur, it's like I have like most of the skills down for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Money management is one that I feel like I should have learned. They would give me the envelope and they'd be like, do you have change? And I was like, no, mind you, there's like a whole thing of cash in there. But I'm like, no, I don't think so. But that's so great. And so, Kalila, you sold 2,008 boxes of cookies this year. You are the top seller of the Bronx. That is incredible. You are essentially, you topped these sales by 584 boxes. Just tell me, how does it feel to be the top cookie seller second year in a row?
It feels amazing, and I'm like really proud of myself for topping it that much. And it's like a really fun experience.
That's awesome. And so tell me, what does it mean to you to achieve this level of success? And you have to tell us your secret.
It feels amazing, and like I would say I keep like people who ask for cookies. I like to go make sure to see if they want cookies the next year or if other people want cookies.
I was gonna say, do you usually have, do you go to schools? Do you go maybe to family friends and work in businesses? And how do you kind of, look at that and find that out?
So I go to places in like my neighborhood, like I go to my clinic, my church, and in my school.
Nice. Church is a big one. That's where I used to go to. That was always the top seller. And so tell me, what is your favorite thing about selling cookies?
My favorite thing about selling cookies is seeing like everybody so happy when they get their boxes, especially when they come back.
Definitely. There's something about you get all those boxes and it's time to sort them out. Now, I do want to ask, because I've seen in recent years, now you could potentially go online and go through a link and all of that. Is that the case as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So every Girl Scout has the opportunity to set up her own digital cookie link. And so this is really teaching our Girl Scouts, certainly the careers they're going to need coming up in this next generation, but teaching them all about e-commerce. So they're learning how to set up their own online business. They're having to create their own sales pitch there, really, to talk to their customers about what it is they want to achieve and their goals, and do it in that online platform, which we know is the world that they live in right now. So
I think that's such a great way to adapt, though, because you're of course you're doing the in person and you're building up those people skills, but it really is important to kind of hop on to this generation of technology. And so teaching them both ways, I think, is so important, and it's a really great tool. Kind of wish I had that too. I was going up to people like, "Hey, would you like to buy some cookies?" But it really is good to teach them about that as well. And so, Kalila, tell me, like you mentioned, you love when people come back to you. So what is usually the feedback when you do sell cookies?
They usually say, "Those cookies were so good. Thank you so much for asking me." And like, I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell me, from your perspective, what is some feedback that you receive from caregivers about the program itself?
confidence is the number one thing. We hear it all the time. And again, it's that being able to go up and ask an adult is such a huge moment, a huge formative moment for any child. And so, you know, all I can say is the next time a Girl Scout asks you to buy cookies, please say yes, because it really is supporting the skills that they're going to need in the future.
Absolutely. It's really hard to say no.
Yeah.
Like now as an adult, when I walk by and I see them, I'm like, you got me today.
Yeah.
You got me today. But, you know, let's talk about the Girl Scouts as a whole. And I'd love to hear from both of you. Why is it so important to have this organization for young women today?
Yeah, the Girl Scouts is really setting up this next generation of leaders. So we have 4 focal areas. One is STEM. We just talked about the importance of technology. Regardless of what career our Girl Scouts go into, we know they're going to encounter technology. The next is business and entrepreneurship. Obviously, through our cookie program here, they're learning those business skills. And again, regardless of their career, we want them to have that entrepreneurial spirit. Third is outdoors. We have a beautiful camp upstate. We know there's a lot of impacts that are happening in our environment. We want to ensure that our Girl Scouts are caregivers for our natural environment and understand human impact. And then lastly, leadership and going out there and making the change they want to see in the world.
Absolutely. Kalila?
It helps with like confidence, and it gives you like so many things like to help you in the future. Like it could help with like jobs, and like if you're getting interviewed for a job, it could help like boost your opportunities to like getting the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so in that, you've been a Girl Scout and you went through the ranks as a daisy up to now you're a cadet. Now, tell me, how have you grown since then, and how have you grown throughout this experience?
I have grown in like skills, like my money skills and my confidence skills. I carry myself more.
Absolutely. And so, Karen, tell me, if I'm not mistaken, the Girl Scouts made 100 years about a decade or 2 ago?
Yeah, so it
Right.
was founded in 1913.
Yes.
Yes, Girl
So-
Scouts of Greater New York.
Yes, I remember the 100th celebration, but I'm like, I don't remember what year it was. But in that, how have now in your role as interim CEO, just tell me in your lifelong career, how have you seen the Girl Scouts grow?
Yeah, some of the little things include things like that digital cookie, right? Going online with our cookies, because I grew up going door to door selling cookies, right? So that's a huge innovation there. But I think the topics that we touch on are so important. And again, going back to those 4 focal areas and really ensuring that this next generation is prepared not only for today, but for tomorrow and everything that they want to go out and do.
Absolutely. And I'd just love to talk about maybe if you have a number of how many do we have here in New York, because unfortunately it's something I don't hear much about anymore. So tell me a little bit about, who you're serving.
Yeah, so we serve over 20,000 Girl Scouts within the 5 boroughs. We are in every single zip code in New York City, so we have troops in anywhere where people join. So whether it be a religious institution, a community center, school, we have partnerships all over the 5 boroughs, and incredible dedicated volunteers who meet with those Girl Scouts weekly and ensure that this program is being delivered to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one more thing, as I mentioned, what was the caregiver feedback from the cookie program? Well, what's the caregiver feedback from the Girl Scouts as a whole?
Oh my gosh, the skills, lifelong friends for sure. I think that's a huge piece of this is people, that confidence again, coming out of their shell, having that safe and welcoming space every single week to go into. There's a lot that we navigate, that youth navigate as they're growing up, right? Whether it be peer pressure or mean girls, all of those things that our Girl Scouts have to face in the world. In their troop setting, it is safe, it is welcome, and they have that space to grow.
Absolutely. Karen, Kalila, thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. So to learn more about this organization, please visit girlscoutsnyc.org. We have to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more Open right after this. Welcome back. Rising Grounds, Respect and Responsibility is a 12-week voluntary program for individuals in the Bronx and Brooklyn who have caused harm to their partners and are looking for guidance and support on healthier alternatives within their relationships. They also have 2 upcoming events, Father's Day Pledge taking place on June 13th, and their Therapy Comes to the Bronx event taking place on June 27th. Please join me in welcoming the program director for Rising Grounds, Alvaro Pinzon. Alvaro, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, so let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about what is Respect and Responsibility, what does the program aim to do, and who is it for?
Yes. So respect and responsibility is an accountability program, specifically helping folks take accountability or responsibility for any harmful behavior that they've exhibited in their relationship, their intimate relationships. It is also an education program because we teach healthy relationship skills. And so between those two things, we cover a lot of topics that come up in intimate relationships. And it is for anyone. It is for anyone who feel they're at risk of causing harm to their partners in their relationship, or have already caused some harm, are concerned about their own behavior, and really want support to make some changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I've read through a few times that this program isn't court mandated, it's voluntary. So can you tell us, why is that distinction important?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, this program is actually funded by the mayor's office in New York City, the mayor's office to end domestic and gender-based violence. And I wanted to just highlight that for a second because this program came about because so many survivors of intimate partner violence were asking for something that could be outside of the legal system, outside of the court system. And so this was the creation of Respect and Responsibility, and I'm very happy to be the director of that program. I also want to mention that two other providers across the city also offer this program. That's the RISE Project and the Urban Resources Institute. And it's really important because through surveys, survivors of intimate partner violence express concern or fear about the court system. And so basically what happened was, like, it's not for everyone. And so we need another option so that folks can come and take responsibility for that behavior.
Absolutely. And a main mission in this program is focusing on accountability without shame. So tell me, why is that so important? And how has that, in a sense, I guess, maybe differed you from other programs and made your program stand out?
Yeah, you know, I think there is some natural sort of remorse, guilt, and shame when it comes to harmful behaviors in our relationships. Something that really grounds me around that work is just a quote that I read a while ago, which is like, shame craves darkness and secrecy, but what it needs is light and acceptance. And so we see shame as a disconnector. It's a barrier to dialogue. It's a barrier to transformative change. So we try really hard to really address it, put it on the table, ask folks if they're feeling any of that, and we work really hard to sort of put that aside and really work with action, right? Like, so you're acknowledging the behavior, let's let go of the shame, right? And let's work towards changing that.
That's so great, because in the end, when you have that shame, it makes you less you don't want to go. You don't want to,
That's right.
because you feel like there's a finger pointing at you the entire time, and you do feel like this shame and this darkness. So not only is it a welcoming environment, but it's voluntary and there's no shame behind it. So do you think that because of that, there's been maybe an influx of people who are willing to come to your program?
Yes, I think it's quite new for folks. I think, we on some level we are used to going through the criminal legal system or child welfare system, right? When intimate partner violence, domestic violence arises, and so message I would love to give to everyone is, you don't have to wait until that happens, right? You don't have to wait until the behavior escalates. If you fear that you're at risk, if you are concerned about some of the ways you're reacting, come to us. We are a free program and non-mandated, so you can come give us a try. If it's not for you, that's okay.
Absolutely. And so we have your mantra here, which I do want to read. The more connected I am to my feelings, the more present I can be, and safer those around me will be. So that is such a beautiful message. Can you tell us how that idea plays out in sessions?
Yeah, so I want to say that mantra actually came from a participant, which was really, really amazing. And we do a lot of emotional work. I will say our program is for anyone of any gender, and we do offer it in English and Spanish. And most of our participants have been men. And so this plays out in group because I think so many of us men, as little boys and through our lives, are really kind of taught in different ways to disconnect ourselves from our emotions, maybe with the exception of anger. And so this plays out because we do a lot of emotional expression work and really kind of practicing in group, in real time, to describe our feelings, right? And so I think the more we can tap into those parts of ourselves, I think the safer we are, right? And the safer those around us are. So it really, really plays out in a lot of those ways in group.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I like that you mentioned that because at the top of the show, when we spoke with the psychiatrist, we mentioned how in the Latino community, there's this stigma around mental health. And I think here that's almost the same thing with men. There's this stigma about releasing those emotions and releasing that expression. So in that, tell us how R&R incorporates restorative justice principles and how it's different from the criminal legal system's approach.
Yeah, so the criminal legal system approach is really looking at what laws have been broken, and then who broke those laws, and then what punishment is appropriate. And restorative justice really looks at what harm has been caused, who was harmed, and who should take responsibility for it, right? So in that way, it's very much our model of accountability, which isn't about punishment and isn't about shame or pointing the finger, as you said, but it's really about stepping up and taking responsibility. And so another way that restorative justice plays into our model is that restorative justice, the principle of it is that folks are needed in community and we can't throw anybody away. And so this model of being in relationship with each other and being in community came from many different indigenous lineages. So it's been around for a very long time, but it was really born out of that we need every single one of us. And so what happens when harm is caused in a community, instead of discarding that person and putting them somewhere far away because we need them to be in the community and play other roles, they developed a way to talk about the harm and to take responsibility. So we incorporate all that in our group work.
That's amazing. Again, thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about some of the events that you have coming up. On Friday, June 13th, you have the 16th annual Father's Day Pledge Against Violence. Tell us about that.
Yes, so this is a pledge that is inviting men, fathers, father figures, young men to come and take this pledge, essentially denouncing all violence, but specifically focusing on intimate partner violence, domestic violence, gender-based violence, which is why there's such a strong focus on men and fathers. And it really is about two things: denouncing that violence, making sure you are not practicing any of that violence, and also promising and pledging to not stay silent when you see that violence and you know it's happening around us. And so it is going to be on the steps of Brooklyn Borough Hall. A lot of us men gather and we actually read a pledge together out loud. We sign the pledge, and it is now in 55 cities. It started in New York City in 2010, and so I'll be there and invite all men, fathers, father figures who want to come and take that pledge with us.
Awesome. And now on June 27th, Rising Ground's Atlas program is bringing therapy to the Bronx with a community event at DeVoe Park. What can attendees expect from this day?
Yes, so my colleagues at the Atlas program at Rising Ground are putting together this event. It's going to be like a block party, but with a side of healing. And so there'll be very skilled therapists on the ground in the event, just kind of mingling with folks and chatting with them. And so they really have an approach that helps people feel like they're talking to a friend and kind of venting with a friend. There'll also be some private tents if folks want to have a confidential conversation, want a shoulder to lean on, as well as case managers that will be providing information about more concrete resources like food resources, housing resources, legal support.
And so for those at home who are watching who may want to get involved on either of these events, tell us, is there anywhere they go to sign up or?
Yes, I mean, the easiest way would be to come on June 27th to DeVoe Park, say hello to one of the Rising Ground staff. If you are looking for resources for a friend, a family member, you can leave their name and phone number or leave your own. You will get a call back. You could also go on our website, risingground.org, and look for the Atlas program there.
And so maybe if there's anybody who wants to get involved on the volunteer side, is that something that's also open or?
Yes, so the event will be from 2 to 6 p.m. On June 27th. If you're interested in volunteering, I would say go on our website, risingground.org, and say that you want to volunteer so they can help you prep for that day. And if not, show up a little bit early and say that you want to help.
Awesome. And now tell me a little bit about what the feedback of the program has been like. What have you heard, and in your perspective, what are people saying about the benefits and the impact of this program?
Yeah, so the community has been really receptive to these kinds of events. I think a couple of reasons. One, again, the approach, the very relational, friendly approach, where it's not like you're sitting down, and it could be very, scary for some folks who've never been to therapy and whatnot, to sit down in front of somebody and just start talking about your life. So this is a lot more conversational, and there have been, instances where young men are sort of playing basketball, having fun, and the block party kind of atmosphere, and then we'll be open to doing an impromptu short therapy session for the first time, and start opening up about stress they're feeling, anxieties they're having, and things that are going on in their lives. We've also heard from moms who feel like this is a moment to sort of take a break and be able to talk to someone, right, while they're really holding down the family day to day. And so I think we've heard that they feel seen and really heard by the therapeutic staff. We've also heard from folks who have been on waiting lists to find a therapist, which can be really difficult in the city. And so in these kinds of events, they can connect with somebody in the moment, leave their name and number, and they will get a call back from that person and schedule to see a therapist. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, Alvaro, thank you so much again for joining us today. This was so beneficial and just so much information. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
To learn more about their upcoming Father's Day event, please go to their website, risingground.org. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 8 p.m. tonight on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch a new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and Rena Valentin on Friday. I'm Brittany Skyler. Take care of yourselves, and don't forget, paciencia y fe goes a long way.